Hi, I'm Maral and this is your channel. I want to talk about cinema, movies and films in this channel so we can have so fun together if you be with me, but I can speak English as well as you guys, so you can support me and excuse me for that. I want to talk about Insidious, not the franchise, so just Insidious, the Red Door. I love this movie and I want to introduce it to you, so be with me in this way. Insidious, The Red House is a 2023 American supernatural horror film directed by Patrick Wilson from a screenplay by Scott Teems based on a story by Leigh Whannell and Teems. It is a direct sequel to Insidious Chapter 2 and the fifth installment in the Insidious franchise. Original director James Wan serves as a producer, as does Johnson Bloom through his Blumhouse Productions banner. Where does Insidious The Red Door pick up? The first two movies in the supernatural horror franchise, which made its debut in 2010, focus on Josh Lambert and his 10-year-old son Dalton, both of whom have the power to connect with the spirit world through astral projection. As a kid, Dalton described the out-of-body experiences as being able to watch himself asleep, and he and his dad are able to leave their physical bodies while sleeping to travel into what Insidious's resident demonologist Ellis Rainier refers to as the farther shadowy dimensions between heaven and hell, where the most dangerous supernatural demons live. These monsters, which Ellis nicknamed parasites, feed on the living. The further Josh and Dalton travel into further, the harder it is to come back alive. Since Josh doesn't remember that he has the ability to astral project, he assumes that his dad ended his own life in order to protect his son from the consequences of his mental illness. After a run-in with his dead dad in one of the movie's best jump scares, Josh assumes he is also suffering from schizophrenia. It isn't until Renee tells Josh about his abilities that he realizes his dad was trying to protect him from the supernatural demons that lurk in the shadows. Now it's his turn to protect his own son from these same dark entities, hopefully finishing what Ben started. When Josh travels deep into the further Insidious to save Dalton, his body is taken over by a demon that kills Ellis and nearly murders the entire Lambert family. In Insidious Chapter 2, it's Dalton who saves his dad by traveling to the deeps of the spiritual realm, but it takes a toll on the family. In the final moments of the second Insidious film, the father and son choose to forget everything that happened to them in hopes of living a normal life. Unfortunately, forgetting their astral projecting abilities and the horrors that came with it has left the two feeling disconnected from themselves and one another. After the release of Insidious: The Last Key in 2018, Blumhouse opted for possibilities to produce future films in the series, including a crossover with a Sinister series. In October 2020, the studio announced that Wilson would direct and star in the new film, with Teems writing the script based on a story written with Whannell. With a production budget of $16 million. Filming took place in August 2022 at the Morris County and Madison location around New Jersey City. Through astral projection, Dalton is able to go back a decade earlier to the moment when his dad tried to kill him and the rest of the family. Those who have seen Insidious Chapter 2 know that it wasn't really Josh who terrorized Dalton all those years earlier. Josh's body had been captured by the tormented soul of Parker Kane, a serial killer known as the Bride in Black, who killed a young woman while dressed as a woman himself. Josh's soul was trapped in the father looking for a way to get home. In Insidious Chapter 2, it's Dalton who finds his dad and brings him back to the real world. But Dalton doesn't remember the truth. He's been trained not to, and this disturbing image has tainted his vision of his dad, who is struggling with his own daddy issues. The red door pops up in the new film, again via a now teenage Dalton's drawing after his art teacher encourages him to dig into his subconscious for inspiration. The door becomes the key to unlocking the memories Dalton and his dad swear to forget years ago. But without the proper context, the memories only confuse Dalton more. He finds himself drawing the red door once again, but this time there is a man standing in front of it holding a hammer. At first, the mystery man's face is hard to make out, but Dalton soon realizes that he has been drawing his dad, whose face looks a little off in the image. As if there is another face, a more sinister one, projected on top of it. Okay, now I want to talk about Red Door. What is the Red Door? The Red Door is introduced in the first Insidious film through young Dalton's drawing, which are his way of making sense of what he thinks are nightmares, but are in fact the result of his spirit walks. The Red Door is the barrier between the farther and a place even farther beyond the world of the living, where the most tormented souls exist. It is also the entryway of the lair of the powerful lipstick face demon that Dalton refers to as the man with the fire in his face. In Insidious, Dalton is trapped there and only escapes thanks to his dad, who is able to pray his son away from the red-faced demon, but fails to seal the door behind him, giving the demon continued across to their world. Insidious, the Red Door picks up 9 years after the events of Insidious Chapter 2 on the day of Josh's mother, Lorian's funeral. Josh and his wife Rainey are now separated, and he's struggling to connect with his 3 kids, especially Dalton, who is headed off to college and feels resentful toward his wayward dad. At the origin of his new friend Chris, Dalton begins to question part of his childhood that he cannot recall. His family has told him he spent the year he was 10 years old in a coma due to a bacterial infection. But Dalton has always been confused as to why he has no memory of that time. His dad also is having trouble remembering the facts of their share past. In actuality, Dalton wasn't in a medically induced coma. His physically body has been possessed by a parasite, while his consciousness was trapped behind the door. Who is Ben Barton? In Insidious 2, it's revealed that Josh had the ability to astral project at a very young age. His travels led him to pick up a dangerous parasite that followed him around for years until his mom Lorian called in Alice to help him forget his power. He's forced to remember this only after Dalton is possessed by his own demon. However, it is unclear how Josh came upon the gift that feels more like a curse until Insidious the Red Door. Throughout the Insidious films, Josh talks about how hard it was for his mom to be a single parent, implying that his dad abandoned them. In this film, Josh discovers that in the late 70s, his late dad, Ben Barton, spent time in a mental institution for what was believed to be schizophrenia. Looking through his dad's file, Josh discovers that Ben claimed he could astral project, but Lorian didn't know how to help him. Ben would take his own life before Josh was born, and in the note he left Lorian, he wrote, "This ends with me." So I think Insidious the Red Door is not the best one in this franchise, but you can enjoy it, you can see it and love it. Enjoy the time you see this movie. So if you see this, please tell me your thoughts and share with me and your friends. Thank you for seeing this video.